In the frozen wastelands of the Eastern Front, where survival meant becoming predator rather than prey, one man would emerge as Germany's second most successful sniper of World War II. This is the story of Josef Allerberger, a reluctant soldier who became one of the most lethal marksmen in military history. Born in the Austrian mountains in 1924, young Sepp learned to hunt in the rugged alpine terrain. These early lessons would serve him well in the years to come, though he could never have imagined how. By 1943, at just 19 years old, Allerberger found himself thrust into the meat grinder of the Eastern Front as a machine gunner in the 144th Infantry Division. Like countless others, he might have become another nameless casualty in the vast Soviet steppes. But fate had other plans. During the brutal combat near Stavropol, Allerberger discovered a damaged Soviet Mosin Nagant sniper rifle among the dead. This chance find would transform the young Austrian from a common soldier into one of the most feared snipers of the war. What set Allerberger apart wasn't just his accuracy, it was his cunning. He developed techniques that would revolutionize the art of sniping. Instead of using a scope's glint-prone lens, he would often use the iron sights, making him virtually invisible to counter-snipers. He became a master of improvised positions, using everything from haystacks to abandoned vehicles as hunting blinds. In the winter of 1943, during the German retreat from the Caucasus, Allerberger's skills were put to the ultimate test. With temperatures plummeting to -30 degrees, he would remain motionless for hours, waiting for the perfect shot. His white camouflage suit, covered in local vegetation, made him indistinguishable from the frozen landscape. But perhaps his most remarkable achievement came during the defense of the Tarnopol Pocket in 1944. Over just 3 days, Allerberger eliminated 27 Soviet soldiers attempting to breach the German lines. His actions helped delay the Soviet advance long enough for hundreds of wounded German soldiers to evacuate. By the war's end, Allerberger had confirmed 257 kills, though the actual number was likely much higher. Unlike many snipers who sought fame, he remained humble about his achievements. In his own words, "I did what was necessary to survive. Nothing more, nothing less." The psychological toll of his work was evident. Allerberger would later write that each shot took something from me that I could never get back. After the war, he returned to his trade as a carpenter, seeking peace in the same mountains where he first learned to shoot. He was the silent hunter of the Eastern Front, a marksman whose skill made him a legend among friends and foes. With 345 confirmed kills, Matthäus Hetzenauer became one of the deadliest snipers in German military history. But who was this Austrian farmer's son, and how did he become such a feared sniper during World War II? Matthäus Hetzenauer was born on December 23, 1924, in the rugged mountains of Tyrol, Austria. Growing up in this harsh landscape, he developed keen eyesight and steady hands, traits that would later define his military career. In 1943, at 19 years old, he was drafted into the German Wehrmacht. Initially assigned to an artillery unit, his exceptional marksmanship soon caught the attention of his superiors. Recognizing his potential, they sent him to sniper training school. There, he mastered the use of the Karabiner 98K rifle equipped with a 6x telescopic sight and the Gewehr 43 semi-automatic rifle with a 4x scope. Assigned to the 3rd Mountain Division on the Eastern Front, Hetzenauer entered a world where survival hinged on skill and stealth. The vast battlefields of the Soviet Union were unforgiving, but he quickly proved himself. His longest recorded kill was at a staggering distance of 1,100 meters, a feat that required not just accuracy, but also an understanding of wind, distance, and bullet trajectory. Working often alongside fellow sniper Josef Allerberger, the duo became a significant threat to enemy forces. They supported infantry movements, took out key targets, and provided reconnaissance, all while remaining hidden in the shadows. Despite facing extreme cold, limited supplies, and the constant threat of enemy fire, Hetzenauer remained steadfast. In November 1944, he suffered a head injury from artillery fire, but returned to the front after a brief recovery. his dedication did not go unnoticed. On April 17, 1945, he was awarded the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross, one of Germany's highest military honors. But as the war drew to a close, the tides turned. In May 1945, Hetzenauer was captured by Soviet forces. He spent 5 grueling years in a Siberian prison camp, enduring harsh conditions and hard labor. In 1950, he was released and returned to Austria. Back home, Hetzenauer led a quiet life, rarely speaking of his experiences on the Eastern Front. He passed away on October 3, 2004, leaving behind a legacy shrouded in both acclaim and reflection. Matthäus Hetzenauer's story is a complex chapter in military history. It highlights the extraordinary skills of a sniper and the harsh realities of war. His life prompts us to consider the young age at which soldiers are thrust into conflict and the long shadows such experiences cast over a lifetime. Roza Shanina was a name that sent shivers down the spines of enemy soldiers during World War II. Born on April 3, 1924, in a small village called Lyudmila in Russia's Arkhangelsk region, she was one of the Soviet Union's most skilled snipers. Growing up in the harsh climates of northern Russia, Roza was one of 6 children in a hard-working family. Her parents were peasants, and life was not easy. Despite the hardships, she was determined to get an education. At the age of 14, Roza walked over 200 kilometers to attend school in Arkhangelsk. In 1941, when Nazi Germany invaded the Soviet Union, Roza felt the call to defend her homeland. The war was brutal and losses were heavy. Despite societal expectations for women at the time, she volunteered for the front lines. Initially denied, she persisted and was eventually accepted into the Central Women's Sniper Training School in 1943. The training was intense, but Roza excelled. She graduated with honors and was assigned to the 184th Rifle Division. It wasn't long before she made her mark. Roza was credited with 59 confirmed kills, a number that grew rapidly as she participated in major battles on the Eastern Front. Her skill with a rifle was unmatched, and she quickly gained a reputation among both her comrades and enemies. She often volunteered for dangerous missions, understanding the risks but driven by a sense of duty. Her actions not only boosted the morale of her fellow soldiers, but also struck fear into the hearts of enemy forces. Despite the grim realities of war, Roza kept a diary and wrote letters whenever she could. These writings revealed a thoughtful and introspective young woman who understood the gravity of her actions. She expressed hopes for the future and a desire for peace, showing that beneath the soldier's exterior was someone who longed for a normal life. Tragically, Roza's life was cut short. In January 1945, during the East Prussian offensive, she was mortally wounded while shielding a wounded artillery officer. She died at the age of 20, leaving behind a legacy that would inspire generations to come. Posthumously awarded the Order of Glory First Class, Roza Shanina became one of the few women to receive this honor. Her story was told and retold, serving as a symbol of bravery and the significant role women played in the war. Roza's life is a powerful reminder of the sacrifices made during one of history's darkest times. Her dedication and skill exemplify the extraordinary contributions of the Soviet snipers in World War II. As we reflect on her story, we honor not just a remarkable sniper, but a young woman who stood up when her country needed her most. In the winter of 1942, as the icy grip of the Russian cold tightened around the city of Stalingrad, a lone figure moved silently among the ruins. With keen eyes and steady hands, Vasily Zaitsev became a symbol of hope for his comrades and a phantom of dread for his enemies. This is the story of the humble shepherd who rose to become one of the most feared snipers of World War II. Vasily Grigoryevich Zaitsev was born on March 23, 1915, in the small village of Yeleninskoye, nestled in the Ural Mountains. Growing up in a family of peasants, he learned to hunt and survive in the harsh Siberian wilderness from a young age. Using a simple rifle, He honed his marksmanship by hunting deer and wolves, skills that would later prove invaluable on the battlefield. In 1937, seeking new opportunities, Zaitsev enlisted in the Soviet Navy. Stationed in Vladivostok, he served as a clerk in the Pacific Fleet. But when Germany invaded the Soviet Union in 1941, he volunteered for frontline duty. His request was granted, and he joined the 1047th Rifle Regiment of the 284th Rifle Division. Zaitsev arrived in Stalingrad in September 1942. The city was a focal point of Hitler's campaign, and the fighting had reduced it to rubble. Amidst the ruins, Soviet and German forces were locked in brutal close-quarters combat. It was here that Zaitsev's sharpshooting skills would come to the forefront. Armed with a standard-issue Mosin Nagant rifle, Zaitsev's first significant action came when he spotted a German officer over 800 meters away. With a single, precise shot, he eliminated the target. News of his marksmanship quickly spread among his fellow soldiers, and his superiors took notice. Zaitsev was a master of stealth and camouflage. He would patiently wait for hours, sometimes days, for the perfect shot. Utilizing the devastated urban landscape, he hid among the debris, blending into the environment. He crafted sniper nests in shattered buildings, behind walls and even in piles of rubble, making him nearly invisible to the enemy. He developed innovative tactics that revolutionized urban sniping. One of his strategies was the sixes formation, where 3 snipers worked together, 2 shooters and 1 spotter, providing mutual support and covering a wider field of vision. This teamwork increased their effectiveness and survivability on the battlefield. Zaitsev's success had a profound psychological effect on German troops. The constant threat of an unseen sniper demoralized the enemy. German soldiers grew fearful of exposing themselves, slowing their advances and disrupting their operations. According to some accounts, the German High Command sent their own elite sniper to eliminate Zaitsev. While details are sparse, and the story remains a subject of debate among historians, it's said that Zaitsev engaged in a tense duel with a sniper named Major Erwin König. After days of cat-and-mouse tactics, Zaitsev reportedly outwitted and killed his adversary. Whether myth or reality, this tale has become a legendary chapter in Zaitsev's story. Recognizing his exceptional skills, Soviet commanders tasked Zaitsev with training new snipers. He established a sniper school within the ravaged city, teaching recruits marksmanship, stealth, and the art of patience. His students, known as Zaichata, or Leverets, a play on his last name, meaning hare, went on to claim hundreds of enemy kills, significantly boosting Soviet sniper effectiveness. Between October 10th and December 17th, 1942, Zaitsev recorded 225 confirmed kills, including 11 enemy snipers. By the end of the Battle of Stalingrad, his tally had risen to 242. His extraordinary feats earned him the title Hero of the Soviet Union, the nation's highest honor. In January 1943, during a German artillery attack, Zaitsev was severely injured by a mortar shell that damaged his eyes. Facing the prospect of permanent blindness, he was evacuated for medical treatment. Thanks to the pioneering surgery performed by ophthalmologist Vladimir Filatov, Zaitsev's sight was restored. Demonstrating remarkable resilience, Zaitsev returned to active duty after his recovery. He continued to serve until the end of the war, participating in key battles as Soviet forces pushed toward Berlin. His dedication exemplified the unwavering spirit of the Soviet soldiers. After the war, Zaitsev settled in Kiev, Ukraine. He pursued studies in engineering and became the director of a textile factory. Despite his wartime fame, he led a modest life, rarely speaking about his experiences on the front lines. He remained active in veterans' organizations and was respected for his humility and contributions to civilian life. Vasily Zaitsev passed away on December 15, 1991, at the age of 76, just days before the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Initially buried in Kiev, his remains were reinterred in 2006 at the Mamayev-Kurgan Memorial Complex in Volgograd, formerly Stalingrad, fulfilling his wish to rest alongside his fallen comrades. Monuments and museums honor his legacy, and his sniper rifle is displayed as a testament to his role in history. Few names evoke the same sense of awe as Lyudmila Pavlichenko, a young woman from Ukraine who became one of history's deadliest snipers, with 309 confirmed kills to her name. Born on July 12, 1916, in the small town of Bila Tserkva near Kiev, Lyudmila Mikhailovna Pavlichenko grew up in a modest family. Her father was a factory worker, and her mother was a teacher. From an early age, she displayed a fierce, competitive spirit. At 14, after a neighborhood boy boasted about his shooting skills, Lyudmila set out to prove she could do better. She joined a shooting club and quickly mastered the rifle. By the time she was 16, she was working as a grinder at the Kiev arsenal factory, while attending evening classes. Her ambition led her to Kiev University, where she studied history. Life seemed set on an academic path until 1941, when Nazi Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, invading the Soviet Union. As the war erupted, Lyudmila was among the first to volunteer for the Red Army. She was 24 years old. At the recruitment office, she requested to join the infantry and fight at the front. The officers suggested she become a nurse, but she insisted on carrying a rifle. Impressed by her marksmanship certificates, they relented, assigning her to the 25th Rifle Division. Deployed to the siege of Odessa, Lyudmila faced the brutal realities of war. Her first 2 kills were enemy scouts. The experience was harrowing but steeled her resolve. She learned to move silently, blend into the environment, and wait patiently for the perfect shot. Over the next 2.5 months in Odessa, she recorded 187 confirmed kills. When Odessa fell, her unit was evacuated to Sevastopol on the Crimean Peninsula. There, she continued her deadly work amidst fierce fighting. Conditions were harsh, with constant bombardment and scarce supplies. Lyudmila often operated under the scorching sun or in freezing temperatures, lying still for hours or even days. Her reputation grew and the Germans took notice. They attempted to bribe her, broadcasting messages offering her chocolate and the rank of officer if she defected. When that failed, they threatened her with violence. Unmoved, Lyudmila continued her mission. One of her most notable feats was the elimination of 36 enemy snipers. These duels were a deadly game of cat and mouse, requiring nerves of steel and flawless technique. Lyudmila's success not only boosted Soviet morale, but also dealt a psychological blow to the enemy. In June 1942, she was wounded by mortar fire. Recognizing her value as a symbol, Soviet command withdrew her from combat. Lyudmila was sent on a publicity tour to the United States and Canada, becoming the first Soviet citizen received by a US president. Her arrival in Washington, D.C. was met with curiosity and skepticism. American reporters seemed more interested in her appearance than her accomplishments. Frustrated by trivial questions, she famously retorted, "I am 25 years old, and I have killed 309 fascist invaders. Now do you think you have been hiding behind my back for too long?" Lyudmila forged a strong friendship with First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. The two women toured the country, with Lyudmila speaking at rallies and factories. She urged the opening of a second front in Europe to alleviate pressure on Soviet forces. Her presence challenged American perceptions of women in combat and highlighted the shared struggle against fascism. Upon returning to the Soviet Union, she was promoted to major and trained sniper recruits. Her instruction helped shape a new generation of marksmen. After the war, she completed her degree at Kyiv University and embarked on a quiet life as a historian and researcher. Despite her contributions, Lyudmila struggled with the psychological scars of war. She faced periods of depression and isolation. Recognition came in the form of numerous awards, including the Gold Star of the Hero of the Soviet Union, but the toll of her experiences lingered. Lyudmila Pavlichenko passed away on October 10, 1974, at the age of 58. She was buried with honors in Moscow. Her story remains a powerful testament to bravery and resilience. As one of the most successful female snipers in history, She shattered barriers and left an indelible mark on military history. Her legacy endures, inspiring books, films, and countless stories. In a war that demanded everything, Lyudmila gave her all, not just for her country, but for the belief in a future free from tyranny. In the biting cold of the Finnish wilderness, amid snow-covered forests and frozen battlefields, one man became a legend. His name was Simo Häyhä. Born on December 17, 1905, in the village of WWII, Finland, Simo was the seventh of 8 children in a humble farming family. Growing up near the Russian border, he learned to live off the land from an early age. Hunting and skiing weren't just hobbies, they were a way of life. At 17, Simo joined the Finnish Civil Guard, where he honed his marksmanship. He became an exceptional shooter, participating in competitions and earning recognition for his skills. Little did he know that these talents would soon be put to the ultimate test. In November 1939, the Soviet Union invaded Finland, igniting the Winter War. Vastly outnumbered and outgunned, the Finnish forces faced a dire situation. But they had one significant advantage: intimate knowledge of their harsh, icy terrain. Simo Häyhä was called to serve. Standing just 5 feet 3 inches tall, he was an unassuming figure. Yet, beneath his quiet demeanor lay an extraordinary talent. Assigned to the 6th Company of Infantry Regiment 34, he took to the front lines near the Kolla River. Armed with his trusty rifle, a Finnish variant of the Mosin Nagant, and dressed in white camouflage, Simo became nearly invisible against the snow. This earned him the chilling nickname, the White Death, among Soviet soldiers. Over the course of less than 100 days, Simo Häyhä amassed over 500 confirmed kills. His incredible marksmanship made him the deadliest sniper in history. His ability to vanish into the landscape and strike without warning instilled fear in the hearts of enemy troops. Unlike many snipers, Simo preferred iron sights over telescopic ones. He believed scopes could give away his position by reflecting sunlight or fogging up in the extreme cold. His keen eyesight, honed from years of hunting, allowed him to make precise shots at remarkable distances. He employed clever tactics to remain undetected. He packed the snow in front of his firing position to prevent muzzle flash and to provide a stable surface for his rifle. He kept snow in his mouth to hide his breath, ensuring that no telltale puffs of condensation would reveal his location. The Soviet army became desperate to eliminate him. They deployed counter-snipers and even ordered artillery strikes on his suspected positions. Yet, Simo remained elusive, turning the frozen forest into a nightmare for the invaders. On March 6, 1940, his luck nearly ran out. He was struck in the jaw by an explosive bullet, severely wounding him. Comrades found him and evacuated him to safety. Remarkably, he regained consciousness a week later, on March 13th, the very day peace was declared. Simo underwent multiple surgeries and eventually recovered, though he was left with lasting injuries. After the war, he returned to a quiet life of farming and hunting, seldom speaking of his wartime exploits. Despite his incredible achievements, Simo Häyhä was a humble man. When asked how he became such a good shooter, he simply replied, "Practice." He lived to the age of 96, passing away on April 1, 2002. Simo Häyhä's story is not just one of lethal proficiency, but also of a nation's fight for survival and the extraordinary individuals who rise to the occasion when called upon.